Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy.
Story Double 1. Lost in Translation, written by TrulyVisceral. The humans are a rather new spacefaring species. They were added to the Union not but 20 solar cycles ago. In an attempt at strengthening relationships with the other species, they have chosen to send some of their personnel to serve aboard the Union ships. Come our surprise when we got a human engineer, and he was the strangest, most puzzling individual that we had ever met. Between insane ramblings of why the Loch were performing her intercourse with the metallic substances, and saying that any action any of his fellow crew members ever did was ailing, he was mostly ignored. Mainly because everyone just had no idea what to do with him. Except Yutath, who just happened to be a Loch. It is never a good idea to insult a Loch with a warrior class, or any Loch for that matter, and he didn't enjoy the intercourse comment. It took 5 of us to calm him down, 1 for each arm and another for the head. The human seemed confused to the matter, but quickly apologized and said that he didn't intend to offend. Now, perhaps, this seems like an exaggeration, but let me remind you, the humans have been a part of the Union for only 20 solar cycles, or years, as they call them, but that is inaccurate since one standard solar cycle is 1.2 of theirs, and no one aboard of our ship ever met one in person before. So these actions didn't help their cause much, but the captain said that the order came from high command, so our complaints were mostly ignored. The Loch, however, are very prideful people, and it is almost impossible to reason with them once angered. So once again, Yutath didn't enjoy this in the slightest. His work didn't help either. The end result for every repair or maintenance check he ever performed resulted in a performance increase of the device by 15 to 20%. Yet the pieces were placed in a completely different manner than the blueprints would show. And when there was no replacement parts, he improvised a solution, be it with copious amounts of adhesive, or using a far more pipes and wires than were necessary, and in 2 separate cases, physically hitting the machine until it turned back on. Once again, most complaints were ignored, except those last 2. Those got him locked in his quarters for some time. Although, maybe through tremendous luck, his violence managed to somehow move the loose wire back into place. So his lockdown lasted only a fraction of what it normally should. The Loch would much rather have people do what they are told, as they are told. So once more, Yutath didn't enjoy this. But even stranger still were the rest and break cycles. Though humans have similar rest cycles as most of their species, this human exaggerated them. The first time, another one of the engineers found him unconscious in a vent, after alerting the medic and making everyone think that he was either being aborted or they were having a serious life support malfunction. He calmly stands up and asks why everyone is making so much noise. He was just resting or, napping, as he explained. This happened 2 more times before everyone agreed to first attempt to awaken him instead of running for the medic. At his breaks, it was decided that inhaling the smoke of the dried leaves of a plant he brought on board with him was a perfect break activity, and then started the aforementioned incoherent ramblings, as well as the attempts to start discussions about the meaning of life, technology, and wondering if they had any pizza in the food storage. This plant was determined to have some hallucinogenic effect on him. The Loch have a significant distaste for laziness and find the use of foreign chemical, specifically for recreational use, an insult. So one more time, Yutath was not happy. Over time, the crew decided that this new crewmate's antics were more humorous than strange. Some attempted to incite his ramblings and subsequently recorded them. Others recorded his strange solutions to simple technical problems in an attempt at finding an explanation to them. And whilst almost everyone warmed up to his strange new person, Yutath could contain himself no longer. Security footage shows that Yutath had threatened the human and challenged him to an armed duel. The human decided to simply laugh and said no, and went back to fixing a broken pipe, muttering "Joker" under his breath. Allow me to say that if we weren't docked in maintenance station, Yutath's anger would have most likely killed us all. He decided to attempt to ram the human into the wall, though the human dodged. probably heard Yatath stomping, and he just crashed into the many pipes. Now, I say things would have gone terribly wrong if we weren't docked, because if the ship's engines would have been on, these pipes would have highly flammable substances flowing through them, the byproduct of using an older version of the modern warp engine. Not that there wasn't any in the pipes, they just weren't flowing. So the substance just dripped onto the floor, and it just so happens that the human had one of those smokes in his mouth, which fell onto the floor as well. So, now there's a very angry warrior Loch, and a confused human, and a flaming room filled with flammable substances. The human seemed to act out of reflex. He pushed the Yatath out the room, and then sealed it. The explosion wasn't enough to blow a hole in the ship. It wasn't even enough to compromise the structural support. But it was enough to blow through the maintenance door, and we weren't pressurized in a vacuum of space. Yatath was fine, and Loch was extremely durable creatures. He only had some minor burns across his body. But the human, well, if it wasn't for the nearby medical station, he'd probably have died right then. Before I continue, no, the human was not fixing one of these pipes while holding a flame in his mouth, but rather one of the biological waste pipes. At least one thing he did made sense. We weren't sure what would happen later. Were the humans going to reprimand for one of them performing many actions that anger the prideful Loch? Were we going to be reprimanded for having a Loch be amongst our crew when a barely understood species joined? Was Yatath to be reprimanded for not controlling his anger? The answer was no to all of those things. The human woke up after some time and several surgeries, and the first thing he asks if the copper zinc alloy was taking us. He begged for no charges to be made and no action to be taken except for himself. He, for some reason, wanted to take full responsibility for the previous incident. He thought that Yatath had simply tripped on one of the tools when he was fixing a pipe. He wanted to be the one the High Council reprimanded instead. He even submitted a report describing his experience aboard the ship. He seemed to complain that we were freezing his upper arm joint, yet eventually thawed it out. Whatever that is, but the report is, as a whole, exceedingly positive. He seemed to mostly enjoy when someone was patient to listen to his nonsensical rants, and found their subsequent recordings just as humorous as we did. He also wondered if we were grateful for fixing the small insect-like engineering of some of our devices and machines, and apologized for misplacing his low temperature those 2 times. This confused everyone, even when he barely escaped death. He still did and said these strange things with no apparent answer. Yatath was, for the first time, not angered by his antics, but rather just as confused as everyone else. And then we received a package. An updated codex giving greater details in human culture, and an updated translator specifically for human vernacular and jargon. The strangest thing I have ever witnessed was not any of this human's antics, but the scene of a Loch bowing and crying, giving an apology gift to someone that wasn't their mate. End of story. Story number 2. The Giggles, written by Rosie013. Tazar couldn't believe that all of the stupid things the human had done. She was now laughing. Immediate death was not funny, nor was the whole fires raining from the sky doomsday apocalypse invasion thing. It had started as a relatively ordinary day in the colony. The only thing of interest was that the humans in the next settlement over were having some farmers' market celebration. The kind of relaxed bumpkin amusement that was part impromptu theme park, part lazy Sunday afternoon with the neighbors. A chance for Tazar to get out of her parents' habitat, a unit, for the day. Everything was fine. She had caught up with a human friend, Maddie, had a nice win at the hoops, and was deciding whether to spend her thin savings on sugar candy when the override broadcast hit every tech pad in sight. Invasion! That got everyone moving. Strangely, most of the humans were still laughing, patting each other on the back and swapping polite farewells. Everyone else just ran, including Tazar. When the first bombardment hit, chaos was total. Great mounds of dirt and rubble flung sky high, any chance of organized fight gone. Somehow, human Maddie ended up in the lee of an overturned stall with her, bleeding from a deep gash. Tazar quickly put pressure on the injury with the torn fabric of her clothing, the only material that she had at hand. And Maddie started laughing. Not the pleasant, innocent laugh of a long-time friend, but the mad, hysterical laugh of a clinically insane. Stressed and not understanding this unexpected reaction, Tazar could only stop and wonder, why? Why, of all the stupid things the human could possibly do after fleeing from such death, why laugh? Human Maddie stopped and looked her straight in the eyes with deadly seriousness. All the other humans running about were flowing back into the market grounds armed, apparently having retrieved varmint rifles and the like from their now destroyed vehicles. Dad's going to be so mad about not getting to judge the gourd competition. End of story.
This is a special thank you to the one, the only, the legendary Eric Hino, who has become the only Tier 6 patron. I just want to thank the T5 patrons and channel members: Bob the Dragon, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Estrella the Dreamer, Try Again 95, Pudic Yol, Meridian 117, Alithia, Jordan Bucksbaum, Angry Marine, Albarden Gusta, and Barkey. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.